Welcome to Ask Us Marketing. I'm your host, Callie Fedesinko of Callie Collective, a digital marketing agency designed to build relationships between financial advisors and their target audience through data driven content, websites, and advertising. Our episode today is brought to you by the Financial Planning Association, otherwise known as the FPA. The FPA is a great resource center providing education, support, and networking opportunities for financial advisors like you. And they're having a conference in September where you can meet me in the vendor hall. Today, we're talking with Nicole Kramer about how to market yourself on your prospect calls. We'll learn some simple techniques to easily, ethically, and enjoyably lead your sales conversations, and so you can turn your conversations into clients. So join me in welcoming Nicole. Hi, Nicole.
Hello, Callie. How are you?
I am doing good. How are you?
Great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited to be talking about how to market yourself, especially on these calls. So, the first thing I want to ask you about is you're really big about relational selling. What the heck is that?
Good question. Well, it's relational selling and transactional selling, right? And when I first started in sales, I had been a teacher for 15 years.
Hmm.
And I was a little nervous. And on my first day, the district manager called me in and he was like, listen, I know you're nervous. I know you've never sold anything and you're going to hit the ground running, but I'm going to tell you something that will always make you successful in sales if you remember it. He said, you're not necessarily going to have the cheapest prices or the cheapest equipment or the best service, but people are going to buy from you because they like you.
Hmm.
And he said, if you remember that, you'll always be successful. And it was day one. And I was all, oh, okay, I'll remember that. People buy from me. But like at the end of the day, there's one differentiator, especially if you have competitors that sell something very similar, and it's you. And it's
Hmm.
how you approach the entire interaction. And a lot of that has to do with the relationship that you're building. And so what I learned early on is everything about sales is really relational. It's getting to know the person, finding out their needs, showing that you care about them, making it about what they want and need, versus you just making a sale and making it about the transaction.
Yeah, right. What about the person who's like, hey, I don't want friends, I want clients? How can they transition that relationship into a sale?
Well, nobody said they had to be friends, right? A relationship doesn't necessarily mean that you're friendly and that you're hanging out and watching football together.
Yeah.
But are you cultivating a relationship that shows that you really care about their needs? Because selling is
Mm-hmm.
really it's earning the right to make a recommendation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And until there's an actual need that has been uncovered, that you've both identified, that you've both
Hmm.
agreed on,
Hmm.
then ultimately there is no reason for a sale.
Yeah.
If you don't take the time and slow things down and stay curious and really get to know that person, AKA building a relationship, then ultimately you're going to have trouble uncovering the need. And what you're selling is going to just look like a nice to have.
Hmm.
But when we slow things down, we stay curious, we show the person that we understand them, then ultimately we're saying, I'm here to really see and understand what's going on for you. And if there's a way that I might be able to help with that. And if so, then I'll put it out there and we can decide if it's the right fit. But to get there, you have
Gotcha.
to really take the time and get to know the person, which is what a relationship is.
Right. No like trust. So at the point that they're scheduling that call, I'm gonna say they know you. And so your
Mhm.
job on the call is get them to like and trust you. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but they have to have some familiarity with you, right? Because they booked the call. So there's
Right.
some level, like, I know that person, I know who they are. Do they like you? Do they trust you? Are really
Yeah.
the pieces. Even if it's not on that specific call, just over time, like I think a lot of people forget somebody even showing up to a conversation with you is a micro
Mm-hmm.
commitment,
Mm-hmm.
right? So are you gathering micro commitments, which ultimately is what the trust is. Trust is built
Mm-hmm.
over that amount of time, and the
Yeah.
likability factor. If somebody keeps showing up to conversations with you, and sometimes those conversations are, what are you posting online? What are you saying online? Them engaging with your content
Mm-hmm.
is also a form of a conversation they're having with you, where they're being nurtured. And so that's where the know and the like is being built. And then do they really feel like you care about them? That's
Yeah.
where they'll start to trust you.
So how can someone sell themselves on a call?
Not the way a lot of people are trying to. A lot of people think it's a lot of word vomiting and sharing and showing
Mhm.
the value. And I've got this slide deck and I show all these slides and I talk about all the different packages that I offer. And that's not why anybody's there. Nobody's buying your stuff because
Yeah.
they want your stuff,
Mm.
right? They're buying it because, like, that should literally be everybody's first and foremost understanding. If you are getting into any level of a sales conversation, you've got to
Yeah.
find out that person's because.
Mm.
What's their why for buying? And if you haven't uncovered that, what happens is everybody tries to sell their stuff and they embellish it and they try to make it
Yeah.
look really nice. Like, look over
Right.
here, look at this stuff that I've got.
Yeah.
But if there isn't a need that's been identified and both of you haven't agreed on it, like you might be
Mm.
like, oh, I can help that person. I know I can help them.
Yeah.
If they don't understand that there's a need, that help could be beneficial for them, then your
Mm.
stuff looks like a nice to have. But if you
Mhm.
take the time and get to their why, get to their reason,
Mhm.
and then make it feel like it's their idea, that's ultimately how you have impact and how you can create
Mhm.
movement in that person making a decision. So I
What
think,
kind of questions can you ask to find out their why?
well, one of the things that I think will make a huge difference is when we get into sales conversations, we tend to think, again, it's show up and throw up. What's my value? Let me put it all out there.
Mhm.
And we fail to even ask why that person is in the conversation. And
Mm.
we take it for granted. We're like, well, they're here because they want help. Are
Yeah.
they? Or are they there to just fact find? Are they there to gather information? Do they
Mhm.
actually know the problem that they're getting help with? Right? Like a lot of times people, this is a random example, but like people think a headache is because of something that might have nothing to do with why the headache's happening. Maybe you're just
Mhm.
dehydrated, right?
Yeah.
And they're solving
Right.
the wrong problem if they think it's from whatever. That happens a lot in business interactions. People think one thing is the problem, but there might be deeper layers there. There
Mm.
always are. And so the questions that we want to ask is more or less, why are we here?
Yeah.
What's led us to this point? Help me understand why now is the right time for you to have this
Mm.
conversation. What's important to you about doing something about this? What happens if you don't do something? Like all levels of that. And you can ask it in many different forms. But I think people forget that the most important thing anyone can pay you with
Mhm.
is their time and attention.
Mm. Mhm.
If they are in a conversation with you, they are already giving you the most valuable thing that they have. Your job is to show up equipped to that conversation to be able to dig
Mm.
deeper. Not
Yeah.
from a place of it really needs to be from a place of curiosity, not from a place of, ooh, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to show them that they need me. It's
Right.
let me hold
Right.
this space. Let me ask questions about this person. Let me uncover if they do need me or if I even want to work with them. All of that is in that phase of when you're asking questions, not only are you getting to decide if this is somebody you can help, they feel cared about. They
Yeah.
feel seen.
Right.
Everybody's favorite thing to talk about is themselves. So if you ask them different questions, they're going to answer, they're going to say things that's going to give context for both of you to understand, oh, there might be something going on here that we want to look at and see if it makes sense for us to move forward with it.
Right. So you've got this discovery call outline that
Mhm,
you've used personally to
mhm,
grow your business to 20,000 a month.
mhm.
Can you walk us through that outline? And I'm going to put up a link to it below.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, kind of give us an idea of what your discovery suggestions are.
Yeah. So, and I call it an outline or a
Mhm.
framework because it's not a script. And
Mm.
although I think scripts are powerful when we're first learning something, just like an actor reads from a script when they're first
Yeah.
learning their lines, eventually they deliver their lines off script. And it's so believable that when we watch them in movies, we laugh and cry. They're
Mm-hmm.
able to elicit emotion, which people always buy from emotion. And so what I did is I just put a framework together of steps to make sure that you cover in a conversation with somebody so that you're bringing up some of that emotion. You're helping them understand what's really going on. So we always want to start with a greeting. So the first part, for anybody who downloads it, you'll see there's just 9 steps. The first part is just we want to be polite and welcome them to the call, right? And then we want to pre-frame the call. So you want to make sure, like I said, if somebody's showing up and giving you their time, then make sure that you let them know how the call is going to go, but also that you ask why they're there. So one of the, you asked me earlier a question that people can ask. One of the most powerful questions that you can start asking right now that will make a huge shift and an impact in the outcome of your conversations is at the very beginning when you're pre-framing, find out what will make this call a success for you.
Mm.
So, hey, looking forward to discussing what's going on for you and what brought us to this call today and hearing a little bit more about some of your challenges that you've mentioned. And I'm also curious, what will make our time together a success for you? And
Mm-hmm.
once you find that out, now you know why they're, and some people will say, I'm here to just find some more information out. I'm here to decide if this is something that could help me, right? But you're
Right.
going to have more of an understanding of why they're there and what they're looking to get out of the call. And
Yeah.
so from there, you can direct it in different ways. But what you want to take it to from there is maybe handle some objections at that point before they've even come up.
Mm.
For example, I'm curious, who else in your life might our discussion today have an effect on?
Yeah.
Right? Like you might be there talking to a wife and maybe her partner is not in the conversation. But if you bring that up, then you're finding
Right.
out, oh, there's somebody else here that might want to be interested or might want to be a part of a decision that we're making.
Yeah.
That gives you a big sign of like what's going on. And maybe there's going to need to be another step, because if only that person is here and they identify, well, my husband would like to see, any decision that I'm going to make, he would like to kind of look it over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Sounds like that's something that you would want to talk over with him before you move forward with any decisions. Okay. And now you've got a better understanding of like what the point of that call is. So we
Mm-hmm.
want to overcome some of that then, or, depending on the person you're talking to, you can say
Right.
different things like, if this feels aligned for you, is this something that you feel like, you could make a decision on today?
Mm.
So we handle all of that at the beginning. And then we go into, why are we here?
Mm.
What led us up to this point? So you
Mm-hmm.
want to cover like what's been going on, how long has this been going on for you, when was the last time that you felt good about this? And then once you've kind of gotten clear on the fact that there is a challenge, there are some things going on, now it's, well, what would you want it to look like? What would
Mm.
you wish that it could be? Right? So we want to, what are the
Mm-hmm.
points? What are you experiencing? And what do you wish it was?
Yeah.
How do you see it being if this wasn't the case? And
Mm.
then you want to go back and revisit again. This is almost like an emotional roller coaster, which is what we want.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then we go back and visit again. Well, what happens if you don't do something about this, right?
Mm.
I'm pretty clear you've said this and this and this has been going on for a while. And you also know that if it wasn't going on, you'd be over here. So what happens if you don't end up over here? Is that going to be a problem for you? Right? So we want to
Yeah.
revisit that again. How urgent is this? How big of a
Mm.
need is this? And then once you've identified that it is something that they're ready to give their focus and attention to, and it is something that they're interested in putting some kind of investment towards, time, money, energy, whatever, then now it's like, okay, now what happens next is I'm going to make some recommendations.
Mm.
And then you're just going to recommend maybe some things that you offer that could help them, some different steps that they could take. And ultimately, you're going to move into a discussion around what feels right for you, which of these
Mm-hmm.
feels like it's doable for you. Is this something you want to navigate on your own, or would you like some support with this? And ultimately, at that point, you're going to overcome some additional whatever objections come up, whatever questions come up. And then you're going to take the next steps, either close the deal because they say yes and they want to pay you, or you make sure that you discuss whatever the next step is, because it doesn't have to end in a client or a yes for it to be a
Yeah.
successful conversation.
Mm.
All you want to do is make sure by the end of that call that you've moved on to another micro commitment if there's
Mm.
not a yes at that point,
Right. Yeah.
right? So always have next steps before you end any call so that you both know what the next step is and you've agreed upon it. So that way you're not chasing people.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you recommend like having the outline in front of you when you're on a call?
I would definitely. So this is where a lot of my clients have had a lot of success with this. This is what it looks like for anybody who's going to download it. Mine's just the black and white copy, but
Mhm.
I would write it out for
Mm.
yourself, the different
Mhm.
steps, and write your own questions underneath each section. And that's part of the
Mm.
reason why I made it a framework, because this isn't
Yeah.
going to be the same for everybody. And we don't want to be scripty and contrived, but give
Right.
yourself one of the most powerful ways to be successful in sales conversations: pre-brief them
Mm.
and debrief them.
Mm.
Most people aren't spending any time outside of the conversation itself doing any
Yeah.
kind of preparation. And that can have a huge difference in the outcome. So if you spend a little bit of time pre-briefing and writing down some questions that you can have prepared, I
Mm.
assure you, the worst time to think about what you're going to say is the moment you're saying it.
Yeah.
So if you put a little bit of thought and intention ahead of time into it, you're
Right.
not only going to be a little bit more prepared with good questions to ask, you're going to feel more present in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sitting there going, oh, what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? Which
Right.
has no focus on them. It's all on you. And
Yeah.
they're going to feel more cared about. They're going to feel energetically that you're more present in the conversation, and you're going to feel more confident and ready.
Yeah.
So yes, I would recommend have it there. I have some videos on YouTube if people want to watch them about how to actually have permission to use the script on the call. Because sometimes people are like,
Mm.
what if the person sees me reading from the script? And I'm like, would it help if you had a way to basically tell them you're going to have a script in front of you? So I explain how to do that really simply and really easily. And it makes you look
Yeah.
prepared. It
Yeah.
makes you confident, and it actually allows you then to have things right in front of you that you can look down and refer to.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
How much experience does someone need, to practice your sales techniques and see a payoff?
Well, you could see a payoff immediately
Mm.
with no practice if you just start being a little bit more intentional with asking questions and listening,
Mm-hmm.
staying curious. So
Mm-hmm.
even if everybody were to, and I'm big on accountability. So like for anybody who's listening and watching this, please don't just sit and audit it, go take action, because knowledge does you no good.
Mm.
If knowledge was a thing that actually gave us results, then
Mm-hmm.
I would have a six pack, because I know how to get one. I know exactly how to get one. I don't have,
Uh-huh.
right? So the knowledge
Samesies.
isn't going to, right? The knowledge isn't going to do anything. So if you're watching this, if you're listening, go take action. Here's one thing you could take action on that you don't need
Yes.
1,000 reps to improve on. Just use that question that I gave you a few minutes ago.
Mm.
If you're in a conversation with somebody, say, hey, excited to hear more about what's going on for you. I figured we could discuss a little bit about some of the challenges that you've mentioned. I want you to feel seen and heard so that we can make a decision about what, might be next steps for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, what will make our conversation a success for you?
Mm-hmm.
I promise if you just insert that into the beginning of your conversations, that person will feel like, wow,
Yeah. You're not trying to sell me something. You want to know what I want.
they care about what I'm here for too. So even just that. But to truly answer your question, Callie, like there's
Yeah.
never an end to it. It's no different than like yoga. Like how many yoga sessions do I need to do before I'm like,
Mm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
a yogi? Well, it's a
Mm-hmm.
practice, right? And I think humans are complex, conversations are complex. So there's never a time where we officially like, I'm the master of all and I don't need to
Yeah.
practice anymore. Like we always want
Right.
to be preparing and showing up as our best selves to the
Yeah.
conversations. Those micro moments are the things that actually move the needle,
Mm.
right? If we just get a little bit better about showing somebody that we care by asking a question like, what will make this conversation successful for you? A lot
Right.
will shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It reminds me of
lots
that
of lots
saying.
of reps, but start with just asking one question a little bit differently and you'll start to see
Right. It reminds me of that saying, an artist is never complete. He's just done. Like,
Mm,
you're
I
not,
love it.
your painting's never complete. You're just done
It's so
working
true.
on it.
It's so true. It's never
Mhm.
nothing's ever really complete. We're always evolving, we're always growing, we're always expanding, and the same is true with our conversations. The only difference that people are going to notice is most people don't get intentional about their conversations.
Yeah.
Most people are just like, well, I'm a good talker. This person likes me. We're friends, or we know each other from so and so. So I'm just going to show up and hope it goes well.
Right.
And there's like thousands and millions sometimes riding on this one conversation. And it's like,
Mm.
I used to jokingly say this to some of my clients. I'm like, you've worked harder for minimum wage than you are for this conversation. Like you've put more time into a $15 an hour job. What if you
Yeah.
just put a little bit more intention into preparing yourself for these
Mm.
important moments in your conversation? How much different could things be for you in these
Right.
outcomes? And the goal is not to have so many conversations. It's how do I make a bigger impact with fewer
Right.
conversations so that I don't
Hmm.
need to always be in so
Hmm.
many. It's like, how do I just get better at the ones I'm already in?
Yeah. Yeah. You have this video where you're talking about you should manipulate the sales calls. Let's talk about that because anytime you hear the word manipulate, you're like, oh, what?
That's exactly it. And I did that on purpose, right? Obviously, to
Hmm.
ruffle some feathers because people get so uncomfortable around selling because it feels salesy and slimy and manipulative. Those are all the,
Hmm.
right? Like when I'm speaking from stages, I always ask people, I'm like, how would you describe a stereotypical salesperson? And the adjectives that I get back are not nice and they're not pretty, right? We don't
Right.
think highly of salespeople.
Yeah.
Yet we actually do, because when we've had good experiences with professional salespeople, we feel
Mm-hmm.
seen, we feel heard, we feel cared about, we feel like somebody listened to us. So the difference between the two, it's the exact same outcome if somebody buys something. But in one sense, with that manipulative, slimy person, they're going to feel like they were sold. In the other sense, they felt like it was their decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's not really any difference. It's how does the person feel? The difference between manipulation and influence, if you will, because I look at those
Yeah.
as like being cousins, right?
Mm-hmm.
potentially same outcome, right? If you manipulate somebody into doing something, or if you influence somebody into doing something.
Yeah.
The difference is integrity.
Mm.
That's the difference, right? Where are you at with this? Because manipulation means that you are learning how to manipulate and mold the situation for your outcome.
Right, for your benefit. Yeah.
Exactly. And only yours. Even if you're like, well, but that could still help the person. But did they feel like it could help them? Did
Right.
they feel like it was their decision? Did it feel like they were stepping towards you? Are you pushy or are you pulley? Right? You're like, come on, come a little bit more, come a little bit more. They're choosing to step towards us. That's an empowered yes. Versus okay, I know I want to do that. Come on, you know you can do this. You know you need to do, like, that's a different vibe, a different energy. So on the whole, I would say manipulation and influence, the difference is integrity. And ultimately what we want is for the other person to feel like it's their decision. And even though I say in my video, and I still believe it, you should manipulate.
Yeah.
Because all manipulation means is we're preparing to steer something in a way that we want it to go. The thing is, can you show up and be that person with integrity that also cares about what's in it for the other person? Because that's what the other person's thinking. They're thinking, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
If you show up prepared to influence the conversation, then you'll do it strategically. That person will see what's in it for them, and you get the exact same outcome. It just feels like it was their decision. That makes all the difference.
Yeah. So, okay, I've got the QR code up. I can't get there right above me. But you also do coaching on sales. What does that look like? And are you accepting people into your program?
I am fully booked right now, but I do have a wait list. So for people who are interested, they just reach out and we kind of assess what's going on and what their needs are. My coaching typically looks like people who are, my ideal client is people who want to know how to have more influence. What I hear most of the time is two things. How do I get more clients? And how do I sell my value?
Yep.
How do I get more clients? How do I sell my value? So it's really a rewiring in many ways, because if you're looking to sell your value, like I told you earlier, what we really want to do is get better at asking questions and uncovering the need. And I think I said this a little bit earlier.
And let me just say that sounds so much more palatable.
Yeah.
You just need to be asking better questions. Sounds way better than you need to sell your value.
That's it. And asking, here's what I think salespeople are. I think they're just professional mind maker uppers. And we as salespeople, our goal is to earn the right to make the recommendation. Earn the right.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're going to recommend something to someone, whether it's go listen to a podcast, or it doesn't even have to be your, right. If you're just, there's this book you should read. Before you recommend anything, even if it's your services, you need to be able to say, because you said X, I would recommend Y. Because then what you're doing is taking something that they said, and nobody can argue with their words.
Right.
You're taking something that they said that's a need or a desire or something that they're looking to have, and you're matching it to something that you know could benefit them. So because you said this, I would recommend this. And if you can't say because you said this, you haven't stayed curious long enough. You haven't really done your due diligence to understanding what's going on for that person. And a lot of times I think people get to the point where they understand what's going on for the other person, but they haven't stayed curious long enough to help that person
see it. Yeah.
Understand, right? I used this analogy recently. Like, if somebody falls in front, if you're walking down the street and somebody's on a bike in front of you and they fall and they break their arm, what would you do? And everybody asked that question too. It's like, well, I would help them. I would ask if they're okay. I would help them sit up. I would call 911. I would because we can both see that the arm is broken. We can both agree that there is a problem that needs our attention. In a sales conversation, there's an equivalent of a broken arm. The salesperson has to be diligent enough and intentional enough and have done their pre-work to know how to ask questions, uncover the broken arm.
Yeah.
Because both have to see it in order for that person to feel like there's a solution that they need. And so often we're like, hey, I've got a solution. Hey, I've got a solution. And people will tell you why they don't need the solution.
Yeah. But if you go in, they don't see the problem.
Exactly. If you go in first. So if you sell somebody, you try to sell somebody your solution, they'll tell you why they don't have the problem. Show someone that you understand their problem. That's the thing. It's not about just seeing the problem or them seeing it. It's showing them that you know them, you get them, you understand them. I call that the
Mm-hmm.
show me that you know me button. If you can show them that you understand their problem, they will trust you with
Mm.
the solution.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest reframe. It's like, how do I actually slow things down? Because it feels
Yeah.
so counterintuitive, Callie. Like we're all like, how do I make
Yeah.
this sale? And,
Right.
and and trust
Go,
isn't
go, go. Sell,
overnight.
sell, sell.
Yeah, and trust doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time, right? And so we have to be willing to slow things down. But the irony is,
Mhm.
when we're willing to slow things down, it actually speeds things up. Because when someone
Mm.
feels cared about, they want to step closer to us. They want to be around us more.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've all heard the old saying, it doesn't matter what you say or do. It matters how you make somebody feel.
Mm.
And although our words are a big part of how we're able to cultivate and curate that feeling in someone else, what we say and do actually doesn't matter. It's how the
Mm.
person feels. And if they feel seen and heard and understood around you, they're going to open up more, they're going to trust you, and they're going to give you more opportunities to help them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so your coaching is full right now. You have a wait list, but I think you also have some classes available,
I do,
right?
yes. Actually, so that is something actually we have going on next week. Next
Oh.
Tuesday it starts. It's a 4-week boot camp. So for
Mhm.
people who are looking to have more influence, they want to learn some magic phrases. That's what we teach in
Mhm.
the boot camp. Some different magic phrase questions that you can ask to
Yeah.
uncover this context. And it starts next week.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Um, this was just a very interesting conversation, and I love it because, like I said, it's so much more palatable to hear. Like, you just need to be asking better questions
yeah,
rather than you got to show your value and make them buy from you and do this and do that.
right.
And I think especially our audience is advisors who all care very much for their clients. So I think that whole finding out what the person's need is, and
Yeah,
then you both, you're showing them that you know what it is and you understand it. I think that resonates so much better
yeah.
than typical sales that we
Yeah,
know of.
well, it's, a lot of advisors, because I work with advisors, and a lot of them are trying to sell like life insurance, for example. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, don't buy life insurance. But what's the reason they might want to buy it? If you sell
Right.
them on the reason and what their need is around it, now you're not selling them life insurance. You're selling them peace of mind. You're
Yep.
selling them security. So get into what that actually sounds like and looks like for them. Describe it that way, and you'll sell a heck of a lot more
Mm.
of the life insurance that you're looking to sell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make it matter to them, make it
Yeah.
resonate with them, help them see, oh, this is why I don't want life insurance. I just want to know that I'm okay if something, God forbid, were to happen to my partner and we need to we needed to figure out
Right.
income and things on our own.
Yeah.
That's what you're buying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes all the difference.
Um, okay. One more thing before we go is tell us a little bit about Cassie.
Oh, I know. We got to bring the dogs into it, right? Actually, here she is right behind me. One of my clients drew that picture for me. So Cassie's my 7-year-old boxer, and she's like a typical boxer, crazy
Cute.
and loving and fun.
Friendly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Kelly, you've gotten to meet her. She's a wild
Mm-hmm.
woman, but
Yeah.
I love her. She's amazing.
I think I heard her a little bit in the background earlier. I was like, I hear Cassie.
We did. I gave her a little like frozen treat, thinking that would keep her
Mhm.
quiet and over there, and then she finished it sooner than I thought, and was
Yeah.
do the shake and the make all the noise. She likes to make sure people know that she is here, whatever
Yeah.
season I'm on. So
Well,
yes,
I appreciate that she let us know.
she always makes an appearance.
Uh,
Aw.
this was a great conversation, and I found it very valuable. I hope our audience did as well. So thank you for the most important thing you could give us, your time and attention.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm happy to be here. I want to make sales not salesy for people, because I know what it felt like. I was a teacher for 15 years. I felt salesy as all get out, but I know when we get over that, we're able to
Mm-hmm.
really help and serve more people in the way that only we can do. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. Love that mission.
Yes.
So thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you are still with us, make sure you scan this QR code and find out if your marketing is savvy or sorry. Um, I don't know what I was going to say after that. I'm thinking about the dogs. So scan that QR code, and you will not get an A, B, C, D or F because we didn't want to tell anyone that they failed. So don't have to worry about getting a bad grade. And then, of course, join us next Monday. We'll be talking with A.U.M about how he has incorporated his passion for running into his firm's marketing. So that'll be really interesting. He's built his entire marketing messaging around how he likes to do running. So make sure you join us. And that's at noon on next Monday. Until then.